The twin suns of Vega Prime burned bright across the dark sky, their light glinting off the smooth towers of the Galactic Council's capital. The great chamber, built from crystal and steel, was filled with the sound of many voices speaking at once. Dozens of alien species sat in their seats, each one arguing, each one desperate. The war had gone wrong. The enemy was winning. The Vorath Dominion had come like a storm. They were an ancient and ruthless species, creatures of bone and shadow who did not speak or trade. They simply conquered. World after world had fallen before their vast armadas. The Galactic Alliance, a union of 117 races, had once believed itself invincible. Now its fleets were scattered and broken. The Council had called an emergency meeting, but hope was thin. At the edge of the round chamber, a single human sat quietly. His name was Elias Grant, Admiral of the Earth Fleet. His uniform was simple, dark gray, with a faint insignia of a blue planet on his shoulder. The humans had not been part of the Council's military for decades. After the Great Rebellion, Earth had been forced to isolate itself. The other races had decided that humans were too dangerous, too emotional, too unpredictable to trust. They had locked Earth away behind treaties and agreements. Humanity had obeyed for a time. Now Elias sat and listened as the aliens shouted. "The Vorath have destroyed 3 more worlds in the core sectors," cried a tall, silver-scaled being from the Delvian race. "Our fleets are gone. We must surrender before they reach Vega Prime." "Never!" roared another, a bulky insectoid commander. "We can still fight. We only need to regroup." "Regroup where?" another delegate shouted. "There are no fleets left to regroup." The room was filled with panic. Some of the delegates argued for surrender, others for retreat, and others simply shouted in fear. Above them, a hologram showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots spread across it like bloodstains. Each dot marked a world that had fallen to the Vorath. The map was almost all red now. The High Chancellor, an old and tired alien named Vereen, raised her trembling hands. "Silence," she said softly, her voice echoing through the chamber. "We cannot speak all at once. There must be order." The voices died down. The Chancellor turned to Elias. "Admiral Grant," she said carefully, "you have been silent through all this." "What say you?" Elias looked up slowly. His eyes were gray and there was no fear in them, only a deep sadness. "You already know what I will say," he replied. "You never wanted to hear it before." The Chancellor sighed. "Say it anyway." He stood tall and calm. "You have spent a century building peace through treaties and words. You thought you could reason with every enemy, but not all enemies can be reasoned with. The Vorath do not care about your laws or your peace. They understand only strength." "You forgot that." A murmur spread through the chamber. Some nodded, but others hissed in anger. A delegate with glowing blue eyes spoke sharply. "And what would you have us do, human? You fought your wars long ago. You brought chaos wherever you went. We will not unleash your kind again." Elias's voice was quiet, but it carried weight. "You might not have a choice." The chamber fell silent again. Every species in that room remembered the old stories. How humans had once turned back invasions alone. How they had fought wars that scorched entire moons. The Council had buried those stories and hidden Earth behind closed borders, but the fear of humanity had never truly died. The Chancellor looked down at the glowing map again. The red dots were moving closer to Vega Prime. She whispered almost to herself, "If the Vorath take this system, the Alliance ends." A voice from the shadows spoke up. "There is one option left," said a soft mechanical tone. It came from a robotic being, old and dented with age. "The Earth Protocol." Every delegate in the chamber froze. The words hung in the air like a curse. One alien hissed, "That protocol was never to be used." Another shouted, "It was only theoretical. Humanity cannot be allowed back into full military command." Elias's face hardened. "You wrote that protocol because you knew this day could come." The Chancellor's voice shook. "The Earth Protocol was meant for extinction-level threats. If we use it, we give control of the war to the humans. Completely." An amphibian delegate thumped his staff. "Then we would be trading one destroyer for another." Elias turned to face the room. His voice rose, calm but sharp as iron. "You've already lost your war. Your fleets are gone, your worlds are burning. You built your alliance on peace, but peace cannot stand when monsters walk the stars. The Vorath will not stop until everything you know is ash. You called us monsters once. Maybe you were right. But monsters are exactly what you need now. The room erupted in noise again. Some shouted in anger, others in fear. The Chancellor closed her eyes. She could feel the heat of the suns outside, the tremor of the planet under siege. Every world was looking to her for a decision. Enough, she said quietly. The voices stopped. Admiral Grant, if we authorize the Earth Protocol, will your people answer the call? Elias looked at her for a long time before he spoke. We will answer, but not as your servants. We will not fight under your command. If humanity returns to this war, it will be on our own terms. The Chancellor hesitated. And what are your terms? Freedom, he said simply. We will not be chained again. When the war ends, Earth decides its own path. Silence filled the room. No one dared speak. Everyone knew what that meant. If humanity fought and won, the galaxy would never be able to control them again. The Chancellor looked at the burning red map one last time. Then she whispered the words that would change the galaxy forever. Activate the Earth Protocol. Elias nodded once. Then pray you never regret it. He turned and left the chamber. Outside, the halls of the council were empty and cold. Through the tall windows, he could see distant flashes of light as the Vorath fleets advanced through space. He walked slowly toward the shuttle bay. His steps echoed through the silence. As he boarded his ship, his second officer, a young alien woman named Tira, looked at him with wide eyes. Admiral, is it true? They are really calling Earth back into the war? Elias gave a small nod. It's true. Will they come? She asked softly. He looked out at the stars. They've been waiting for this call for a long time. Far across the galaxy on the blue world that had been forgotten by most, deep under the oceans and ice, silent machines began to stir. Satellites that had been dark for 100 years powered on. Massive shipyards under the Pacific Rift came alive. Ancient warships hidden beneath the crust of the moon started to hum with energy. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Lena Brooks stood before a glowing screen. Her face was calm but stern. The transmission from Vega Prime flickered to life, showing the desperate faces of the Galactic Council. Commander Brooks, said the Chancellor's weary voice, this is the official activation of the Earth Protocol. The Alliance requests humanity's aid. Lena's reply was cold and slow. You told us to stay away. You sealed our borders. You said you didn't need us. We were wrong, the Chancellor admitted. Please, billions are dying. Lena turned to her officers, men and women who had been trained for generations for this moment. Their eyes shone with quiet fire. They finally remembered we exist, she said. Her second in command, a tall man named Ryan Cole, asked, What do we do? Lena looked back at the transmission. We'll help, she said at last, but under one condition. The Chancellor nodded nervously. Name it. We fight this war our way. No orders, no oversight, no chains. The Chancellor hesitated, but then gave a slow nod. Agreed. The transmission ended. Lena stood in silence for a long time, then gave a single command. Wake them all. Alarms began to sound across the hidden bases of Earth. Deep beneath the waves, massive doors opened, revealing sleek, dark ships. Engines roared to life. In orbit, satellites began to form communication networks. The human expeditionary fleet was being born again, on Vega Prime. As the Council watched their screens, new signals appeared on the galactic map. Blue dots, dozens, then hundreds of them, rising from the Sol system. They moved fast, faster than anything the Council had ever seen. The humans were coming. Elias Grant stood on the deck of his ship, the Ardent Dawn, and watched the stars ahead. His crew moved around him, silent and focused. For the first time in a century, humanity was leaving its home to fight beyond the stars. He looked toward Vega Prime, where the Council waited in fear. They called us monsters, he said quietly to himself. Let's remind them why. In the distance, the stars seemed to tremble as the first human ships entered slipspace, vanishing into blue light. The war that had broken the galaxy was about to change, and for the first time in a long age, hope returned, but it carried the face of humanity. The dark space around Vega Prime was filled with wreckage. Broken ships drifted like ghosts. The light of the twin suns glimmered on shattered hulls and frozen bodies. The Galactic Alliance fleets were gone. The Vorath Dominion had won every battle so far, and their next move was to crush the last few systems still standing. The Council waited, afraid and desperate. They had done what they swore never to do. They had called the humans. In the deep black between stars, something stirred. A whisper went through the communication lines of the surviving fleets. Strange energy signals were being detected near the Sol system. Ships were rising from Earth, hundreds of them. Old legends said that humans were unpredictable and reckless, but now the galaxy hoped those same traits could save them. Admiral Elias Grant stood on the command deck of the Ardent Dawn, a heavy warship that once had been sealed away under the ice of Europa. The ship's systems were now alive again, glowing with soft blue light. The crew moved quickly around him. Many of them were human. Some were hybrid engineers who had chosen to serve with Earth. Every person on board knew this was not just another war. It was the last chance to stop the Vorath. Elias watched the star map as dozens of human ships appeared one by one, from hidden stations near Earth, Mars, and Titan. He could see the activation signals from deep ocean bases and lunar shipyards. The long-forgotten fleets of humanity were rising like giants from their sleep. Their ships were black and silent, built for war, not beauty. They moved fast, faster than anything the Council had ever built. A soft voice came from behind him. It was Commander Tira, his alien aide, small and silver-skinned with large dark eyes. "Sir, we have confirmation. Earth Command has approved full deployment. Commander Lena Brooks is waiting for you on a secure link." Elias nodded. "Put her through." The screen in front of him flickered, showing the calm face of Lena Brooks. She was standing in the command room of Earth Defense Headquarters, surrounded by officers and glowing consoles. Her tone was sharp and direct. "Admiral Grant, we are ready. The fleet will be divided into 3 groups. You'll lead the Vanguard fleet to Vega Prime. The others will secure the surrounding systems and cut off Vorath reinforcements." Elias nodded. "Understood. The Council has already confirmed they're under heavy attack. We'll be there within 6 hours." Lena gave a small smile, the kind that held no humor. "Then it begins again." When the transmission ended, Elias turned to his crew. "Prepare for slipspace jump," he said. "Set coordinates for Vega Prime." The bridge lights dimmed as engines charged. A low hum filled the air. Outside, the fleet spread into formation. Rows of ships armed with rail cannons, plasma torpedoes, and shields of shimmering energy. They were not the biggest ships in the galaxy, but they were built for one thing: destruction. The jump began, and the stars stretched into lines of blue before vanishing into nothing. Across the Council's war room on Vega Prime, the delegates watched the energy signatures appear on their sensors. The blue dots moved fast, too fast. The alien commanders stared in disbelief as they realized the human fleet was not approaching in cautious formation. They were moving like hunters. High Chancellor Vereen stood by the window, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "They are coming," she whispered. "May the stars protect us." On the planet's surface, alarms echoed. The Vorath had arrived. Their ships were enormous, living vessels made of bone and dark metal, glowing with sickly green light. They fell through the atmosphere like meteors, landing in fire. The planetary defenses fired weakly but could not slow them down. The Council guards and soldiers ran through the streets as the sky turned red. Then the humans arrived. The night over Vega Prime split open as hundreds of ships dropped out of slipspace at once. Their hulls shimmered black against the twin suns. The lead ship, the Ardent Dawn, fired first. A bright flash lit the void, and a Vorath battleship vanished in an explosion that outshone the suns themselves. The battle began with a roar. Human ships moved like nothing the galaxy had seen before. They did not form lines or circles like other fleets. They weaved and danced, unpredictable, dangerous. Each time a Vorath ship fired, humans vanished into stealth fields, then struck from a new angle. They targeted command nodes, shield generators, and weak points with perfect precision. They fought not just with strength, but with imagination. On the ground, the Council soldiers looked up in shock. They saw the dark streaks of human dropships cutting through the sky. Within minutes, squads of human Marines landed on the burning streets. Their armor was heavy and black, marked with the blue insignia of Earth. They moved fast, speaking short commands, clearing areas block by block. The Vorath, who had crushed dozens of species with ease, met an enemy they could not predict. Humans fought without fear. They used fire, smoke, and even the ruins themselves as weapons. Elias stood on the bridge, watching the fleet's movements through the holographic map. "Keep them off the planet," he ordered. "Every Vorath ship that enters the atmosphere is a risk." "Understood, Admiral," his officers replied. He turned to Tira. "Report from the Council?" "They are evacuating the lower levels," she said. "They request immediate protection." Elias gave a cold nod. "We'll give them that. and we'll give the Vorath something to remember. Outside, the ardent dawn fired its main cannon again. The beam of white light cut across space and tore through 3 Vorath ships in a single strike. The shockwave sent fragments spinning into the void. Smaller human ships darted through the debris, hunting survivors. The Council's communication lines filled with astonished voices. They had never seen a fleet fight like this. A Delvian officer on the Council bridge whispered, "They move like they were born for war." Another delegate replied softly, "Maybe they were." As the battle continued, the Vorath began to retreat. Their warships, so confident before, turned away under the endless assault. In less than an hour, half their fleet was gone. The humans did not chase the retreating ships. They let them flee, watching carefully. Elias looked at the wreckage on his screen. "Let them run," he said. "They'll tell their masters what they found." The human fleet regrouped near the planet. Rescue ships began to descend to Vega Prime's surface, picking up wounded civilians and soldiers. Fires still burned across the cities. The air was filled with smoke and the smell of metal. Council guards stared in awe as human medics moved quickly through the ruins, helping the injured without hesitation. They treated aliens as if they were their own people. On the Council's highest platform, the Chancellor stood waiting. When Elias landed and walked through the smoke toward her, the crowd fell silent. His armor was scorched, but his eyes were calm. The Chancellor bowed slightly. "You saved us." Elias shook his head. "No, we delayed them. They'll be back." She looked at him with tired eyes. "Then what happens now?" He turned to the horizon, where the last of the fires were fading. "Now we prepare. You asked for our help. You'll have it, but this war is ours now." Lena Brooks appeared on a nearby screen, her image flickering above the crowd. "All units report successful engagement," she said. "Vorath losses are total, human casualties minimal. Phase 2 of the campaign will begin soon." The Council members whispered among themselves. Some were relieved, others frightened. They had seen humanity fight again, and they realized something that chilled them. The humans had not fought with desperation. They had fought with joy. It was as if war was part of their nature, something they understood better than anyone else. That night, while the wounded rested and the fires died, Elias sat alone on a balcony overlooking the city. The stars above were quiet again. He could still see faint flashes far away where the last Vorath ships were running. Tira joined him, carrying a small datapad. "We intercepted their communication signals," she said. "The Vorath are retreating to the outer systems. They are regrouping." Elias looked at the sky without surprise. "Good, let them come. The galaxy needs them to come. The longer they run, the more time we have to prepare." Tira hesitated. "You think we can win this war?" Elias gave a faint smile. "We don't think about winning. We think about finishing. That's what makes us different." He stood and looked toward the dark side of Vega Prime. He thought of Earth, of the cities waking under the blue sky, of the people who had waited a century for this moment. Humanity was no longer silent. The galaxy would remember that. As the first light of morning touched the horizon, the human ships began to rise again from the planet's surface. Engines glowed blue in the dawn. One by one, they disappeared into the black sky, heading for the next front. They left behind silence and broken wrecks, and a single message burned into the Council's communication network. It read, "Humanity stands ready. Phase 2 begins." And far beyond Vega Prime, deep in the cold darkness, the Vorath High Command listened to the reports from their surviving captains. They had met a new enemy, one that did not fear death, one that smiled in battle, one that fought with fire and cunning. The Vorath leader turned to the others and spoke in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "We have awakened the predators." The stars outside his ship flickered like dying embers. The war had only begun.